So, who can explain to me what y-intercept is? What that means, Colin?
The point where the line hits the y-axis.
Correct. Very good. Wherever that line crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. Wherever it crosses the x-axis would be called the x-intercept. Okay? Whenever you're on the y-axis, what's the x value of the point? Whenever you're at a point on the y-axis, what's the x value always? So if I have a point, here's the y-axis, me, vertical, okay? Let's say my head 0, 0, and my line crosses up here. What's the x value always? 0, yeah. Okay? For the y-intercept, the x value is always 0. So what do you think the y value is always for the x-intercept? 0 also, okay? So if you're ever asked to find a y-intercept for a function or an equation for any graph, all you gotta do is plug 0 in for x, and you can find the y-intercept, okay? Same thing goes for the x-intercept. If you ever want to find an x-intercept for a graph where the graph crosses the x-axis, just put 0 in place of the y. Okay? Remember, a graph is a picture of all the solutions to the function or the equation. Right? Every point that's on that parabola or V-shaped absolute value or line, which we're talking about today, linear function, linear family. Okay, you can plug into the equation and it'll work. All right, we call y the dependent variable because the y value depends on what the x value is. The x is the independent variable. When we make an xy table, we can put in whatever we want for x, the domain, right? And then we use the equation or the function to figure out the y, the range. And then we can graph our line. Okay? But this is a quicker way of graphing a line because we know the y-intercept and we know the slope. Okay? And we can draw that line from that information when we get y by itself. Okay? So far, so good? Just like a quick review of stuff. So, write the equation of the graph line in slope-intercept form. Okay? So, from this picture, I can write its equation. Okay, I'm going to put it in. Y equals m x plus b. Let's make that a different color. I'll show you in a sec here. All right. So the b is the y-intercept where it crosses. I'm going to turn it into a blue dot. All right, where it crosses the x-axis. What number is that? Rosalie? +1. So I can put +1 here. Okay. How do I find the slope? Berkeley?
Isn't it like however many you go up and over to get to like the next dot?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. So let's say we go from the blue dot to the green dot. Slope, another name for slope. I think it's on my next slide. So anyway, go ahead. You count.
Up 3 and over 4.
Left 4. So up 3 would be +3. All right. And left 4 would be -4. You guys with me on that? Any line that's slanted or sloped this way is a negative slope. Any line that's this way is a positive slope. Okay? From left to right, going downhill negative, left to right going uphill positive. You can think of it that way too. All right? So you can look at a picture, and I can pick, it's kind of hard to tell. Here's one. What point is this? Negative 4, 4. Let's see if that works in our equation. All right, so I'll substitute 4 in for y. And negative 4 in for x. Okay, and let's see what happens. You guys know that that's the x value, that's the y value at a point, right? It's in alphabetical order. It's called a ordered pair. The first term is the x coordinate, and the second number is the y coordinate, right? Okay, so Jaylee, what is 3 over negative 4 times negative 4 over 1? You can write this like this if you want, if you got two fractions. What happens with the negative 4s? Yeah, they'll cancel. So what's the answer? Yeah. So does 4 equal 3 plus 1? Does, doesn't it? So that's what I'm saying about a graph. It's a picture of all the solutions to the equation. So any point I were to pick on this red line, and I substitute in the x and the y value, it'll be a true statement. Okay? So some kids don't realize that that's what a graph is. It's a picture of all the answers. That's all the points on the line. So there's an infinite number of answers because that line goes on forever. Right? Okay? Questions on that? And you can pick any points if you want. You know, we could have went with this one. Go up this way, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So up 6, left 8. Is that the same as up 3 and left 4? Yeah, that's the same. So any 2 points you pick, you get the same slope. All right. So here's another way. Here's the formula for finding slope. The second y minus the first y divided by the second x minus the first x. I like to remember it as rise over run. When we say rise, what are we thinking about? Up and down, right? And what axis is up and down? Elena, which axis? What's its name? The up and down one. The y-axis. That's why the y's are in the top. Okay? When we talk about run, what are we thinking? Thinking right and left, aren't we? Which axis goes right and left? The x-axis, right? That's why the x's are in the bottom. Every year I get kids that want to put the x's in the top and the y's in the bottom. Think about rise and run. Up and down, y. Right and left, x. Okay? So this example says find the slope of the line that goes through those 2 points. So if you wanted to, you can graph it on graph paper and count rise and run. Or you can use our formula. All right? Second y, negative 5, minus first y, 1, over second x, 2, minus first x negative 1. So I just use this formula. Okay? And then I just do the math. What's negative 5 minus 1? And what's 2 minus negative 1? 3. Adding. Reduce it. What's that equal? Negative 2. If you want to leave it as a fraction, you can put it over 1. If you got to graph it. Okay? So that's the slope of the line that goes through those 2 points. Coming back to you? Any questions? You guys are quiet. From what I'm seeing, you understand. Okay, good. I think that's it for that slide. So how do I find the slope of the line that goes through those 4 points? Anybody have an idea for me? Nobody wants to give me an idea? That's just an XY table horizontally, right? Rosalie?
Could you do points 4 and 2 with points 12 and 8?
Yeah, you can pick any 2 points you want, yeah. There's 4 points there, you guys understand that, right? So the last example only gave you 2 points, so you had to use those. This one gives you 4 points. You pick any 2 you want. Okay? Now remember, the x's are in the top, though, in this picture, but where should it be when I write my fraction? In the bottom, right? Okay? So we'll do what Rosalie said. We'll use the 12 and 8 and the 4 and 2. So the second y, 8, minus the first y, 2, over the second x minus the first x. Which reduces to what? 3/4. Always reduce your fractions. So if it's given to you in a table form, you still can find the slope of the line that goes through those points. It doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter which 2 points you pick. Just remember, y's in the top, rise, over x's in the bottom, run. Okay? Questions? Okay. Write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form with slope negative 5 through 1, 3. So we have to write the equation of the line that fits that. So, what's my slope-intercept form? Alec? Y equals what?
Y equals mx plus b.
Very good, sir. Oops, forgot my x. All right. So what can I do to start? Press. I'm gonna start picking on these guys.
Plug in stuff in.
Yeah.
So
So where do you want to start?
negative 5x.
So do you want to start this way? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You guys agree with it? Brendan, you agree with me?
Yeah.
Really? Are you sure?
Mhm.
Oh. Yeah, you should. You're right. For sure. Don't let me mess with it. Okay, that's right so far, because that's the slope. M's the slope, right? How do I figure out the y-intercept? Rosalie?
You take the points of 1, 2,
And do what with it?
plug them in.
For what?
3 for y and 1 for x.
Good. To figure out the b, plug in the point And the 3 is the y, remember? And the 1 is the x. So I get this. Oops. Not a 6, a b, sorry. What do I do to finish it up?
Bring the 5 up.
How do I bring it up?
Add 5.
Right, add the 5 over. So Jonathan, what's the equation of the line going to be?
Eight.
Well, okay. So here's the form I want it in. So tell me what y equals.
Oh, negative 5x plus 6 plus 8.
Thank you. That's the equation of the line that has a slope of negative 5 and goes through or passes through the point 1, 3. Okay? So we're going to substitute the x value for x, the y value for y, solve for b. Once you figure out what b is, then plug that number in for b to finish up. Okay? And it's in slope-intercept form. Now, you could graph that if you had to, right? If I asked you to graph it, okay? There's the y-intercept. All right, what do I do from there to find the other point so I can draw that line? What's the slope? Negative 5, right? Can I write, is that the same as negative 5? So what do I do from this point? Since the slope's negative 5. The negative 5 tells me which way to go. Down. How many? 5. The 1 tells me which way. Right. How many? 1. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. Well, what point is that? Isn't that point? Make sense? So when you have a equation in slope-intercept form, you can graph it for me without using a graphing calculator, right? All by yourself, because you have information you need. You have a y-intercept and you have a slope. You have a rise and a run. So you have a second point you can find and then graph it. Okay? You guys go ahead and do that for me, and we'll go over it here in a minute. Find the equation line that goes through those 2 points in y equals mx plus b form.
So where's this one? Over here? Right, but you only multiply score by one. It's like 2/1. Don't multiply the 2 and 1, just the chop.
All right, you guys are doing a good job. What's the first step? Brendan, what'd you do first? What'd you figure out?
I did y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x2.
Good. Find the slope, right? Use the 2 points. It doesn't matter really what order you go in, but I usually go the second. I usually make that the second one and that the first one. But if you went this way, it still works. Just be consistent. If you go -3 minus 5, just go -2 minus 2, right? I always just go 5 minus -3 and 2 minus -2. Whoops. But either way works. You'll get the same answer. So plus and a plus. So my m is 2. So I can start my equation. I know that much now, right? Now you just do what we did before. You pick either point you want to find b. Most of you are picking the positive ones, which is fine. That's probably what I would do too. So y is 5, x is 2. What's 2 times 2? 4. What do I do with the 4? Subtract it over. So my answer then is y equals 2x. Now I substitute 1 in for the b. So that's the equation of the line that goes through those 2 points. Questions? I think that's it for today. I have a little worksheet for you guys for homework, yeah. All right, no questions? Okay, cool. Good job.